insecurity feeds on validation. So what happens is when we learn these insecure behaviors and we start to feel like we're not enough, we don't really have the way to validate it for ourselves, that how we feel insecure, so we look for it in our environment. And it's really easy for people to do that because most people don't want to rock the boat. So when your insecurity is coming out, most people just go right along with it. And a lot of times insecurity will come out as fear or anxiety, but I would say fear is probably the number one thing that comes from a place of insecurity. And we think about insecurity and a security blanket. You know, when you have that security blanket, you feel better. And that's what validation is it's that security blanket that kind of makes you feel better for a little while, but it doesn't actually solve the problem. So what ends up happening is it's actually an insult to other people, and it's actually very uncomfortable when we're doing this constantly to people. You know, you know, the person that's really unsure of themselves, constantly unsure, or the person that's always apologizing, you know, that place of insecurity. And what they're doing is looking for you to validate it. And what happens, you know, when that person says, I'm sorry, you're like, oh no, it's okay, it's all right. You know, and then, or if you tell them, you know, you don't need to apologize, and they say, well, I'm sorry for that. They just have this loop that just keeps needing that validation to reinforce the insecurity. So I hope that's something that you can notice inside of yourself, because it's something that I've taken a long time to work on, and something that I'm still working on now, because it really does run that deep, that need for validation from outside of us, you know. And the problem is it's just a misuse of the way nature intended to be, because we do need, you know, neighbors, and we do need community, we do need hugs, and we need, you know, family and friends and things like that. We have that, we're wired for the social connection, so we're gonna get a type of validation, but we don't want the wrong type of validation that reinforces the things that keep us stuck in our life. What we want to do is we want validation for things that are moving us forward. So what I encourage you to do today is take an audit, take an inventory, look for places where your insecurities are, look for places where your fears are, because what's going to happen is you're going to be able to really just dial in and just start undoing that stuff, and start seeing how you treat other people differently, because you're searching for that validation for the insecurities that you have. Now, when we realize that we truly don't have anything insecure inside of us, we aren't lacking anything. We just tell ourselves that. If you're lacking something, it's because you don't have it yet, because you haven't gone to get it yet, or because someone hasn't given to you yet. That doesn't mean you'll never have it. And that's the difference between lack and abundance. So when we move into that feeling of abundance, that's part of what will pull us out of that insecurity, because we'll realize we don't need the security blanket. You know, we're warm enough just the way we are, because we can handle our own temperature regulation. We don't need the blanket of validation of our insecurity to get us through the day. Now, when it comes to dealing with that with other people, a lot of times we have to move into tough love or into direct questions, you know, where did that apology come from? You know, and we dig into that, or you know, why are you so, you seem to be very unsure. Have you always been this way in your life? Do you plan on being unsure your whole life? You know, those are things that we can help to start pull that need for validation out of people. But that's the problem with the ego, is when someone's really trapped in their shadow, is they're going to just be constantly looking for validation all day long for every single insecurity they have. And what ends up happening is they don't have any fulfilling relationships. They don't have any healthy relationships. They're under a constant state of stress, and they're putting everybody around them in a constant state of stress. And a lot of us, what we tend to do is we tend to shy away from those people, and that's not a good thing. So if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Thank you.